And welcome to Weekly Sports Talk with Ed, episode 11. And to start off, the main topic of today's episode is going to be one question about every NBA Western Conference team. Last week, I did one question about every NBA Eastern Conference team. This week, I'm doing the West. We start with the standings order from last year. So I'll start with OKC, with the new additions of Isaiah Hartenstein and Dallas Russo. One simple question was, are they title favorites now? I think a lot of people are picking the Celtics to repeat, but I think they're definitely the favorites in the West, and they could potentially win a championship this upcoming season. They have really good roster. Shay's an MVP candidate. He might win MVP. You got rising stars and Chet and Jada, and just the team all around is really solid. You got other guys like Case and Wallace. Like I said, they added Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Russo added to that depth. We got Kenrich Williams, got the other Jalen Williams. This is gonna be a good team, and they'll be at the top of the Western Conference again. For Denver, for the Denver Nuggets, can the bench produce? They lost KCP this past off season. Two off seasons ago, they had lost Jeff Green and Bruce Brown, some valuable pieces to the team. Now you're losing KCP, and it's just like, what is the bench producing now? Because now Christian Brown is going to be in the starting lineup. He'll probably be the starting two guard. You obviously have Russ off the bench, but the lineup right, it's looking like the lineup right now would be Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. Then off the bench, you got Russell Westbrook and Zeke Naji. And there might be a few other people that I'm forgetting. And that's basically what the team is now. Well, they got Peyton Watson too, who he could be a good young player, but they don't have a really strong bench. As you see, the depth keeps getting worse season after season. They're not willing to go over the salary cap with the new CBA rule to spend money on these guys. But Jamal Murray just got paid, so if they're willing to invest that into Jamal Murray, they're going to have to do that with MPJ and Aaron Gordon in the future if they want to keep both of them. If you run into a situation where you already lost three valuable pieces to that championship roster in 2 years, so you want to stay with one of those teams that need to improve the depth because I don't think they'll be in the championship picture this year. For the Timberwolves, and the offense be top 15. Last year they had the 18th best offense in the league, and they had the best defense. And their offense being so bad was what was their downfall. But with Anthony Edwards rising in his evolution, he's another guy that'll be in the MVP conversation. So can this so this alone can he raise their offensive ceiling and making them a top 15 offense, maybe even better, but at least top 15. You want to at least be in the middle of the pack. You don't want to be below that. For the Clippers, is Kawhi going to be able to carry a bigger load at age 33? We know Kawhi's a great player, one of the best two-way players of all time. And last year, he played the majority of the games, but he was injured come playoff time. So, yeah, he played 2 games, I think, in that playoff series against Dallas. But then now that Paul George is gone, you don't have the same roster you had the last few years. This is probably the worst roster they have since Kawhi's been there. So Kawhi's gonna have a bigger load. Like I said, will he be able to carry that at the age that he is? Because he is an injury. He has had a lot of injuries in his career. So I don't know how sustainable this would be with him at age 33, trying to carry a team, having to lead them basically everything this year. And I don't think the Clippers are going to have a good season. They definitely won't be the fourth seed like they were last year. For Dallas, how much does Klay Thompson help? No matter what you want to say about Klay, him going 0-10 in an elimination game with the Warriors, he's still one of the best three-point shooters in the league. He definitely helps with that. The defense since the ACL injury is obviously it was going to fall off because He isn't going to be the same defender he was in 2016, 2017, 2018, but he can still play solid defense. I think he definitely helps Dallas. Dallas will still be a contender team. You got Luka, Kyrie, PJ Washington, and Gafford Lively. You had a guy like Clay who just helps add to your depth. That was a good pickup by them. But will this be enough to help them get to a championship? Not so sure, especially in the stacked Western Conference, where it's other teams like OKC that did more to improve their roster. And for the Suns, how impactful will Tyus Jones be? We saw all last year what they needed was a point guard. And now that you finally have a point guard, you don't have a backup. So is Bradley Beal going to come off the bench? Does Devin Booker start at PG? Tyus Jones come off the bench? Tyus Jones, he's a good point guard. He's a very solid role player, and he just fit in perfectly. His assist, he has a really good assist to turnover ratio. So I think he'll definitely help Phoenix, but how much will he help them and how much will he be utilized? That's going to be the biggest question when it comes to them. For the Pelicans, do they have too much wing depth? The answer to that might be yes. That might be one of the questions that there's already an answer to. Because they lost Jonas Valanciunas in the offseason. And now you have Ingram, Zion, Trey Murphy, uh, somebody else I'm forgetting. Then they added DeJounte Murray in the offseason. So this is the Pelicans are going to be a great team. We're trying to see who's the other wing player I'm forgetting. Oh, Herb Jones. Yeah, you got Zion, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. And those are four really solid wings, but all four of those guys can't start together, especially when you got DeJounte Murray and CJ McCollum, who are going to be your 1 and 2 guards. And really, only two of those guys are going to be able to start. You might have to trade Ingram. The center is Daniel Theis, and that's not really great. Then you still got Jose Alvarado, who will be coming off the bench. So this is a good team. They'll definitely be in the playoff race, especially with Zion healthy. But you might have to get rid of Ingram to get a center. Maybe you send Ingram to a team like the Cavaliers and try to get Jared Allen. That's obviously the Cavs won't give up Evan Mobley. If you try to get a guy like Jared Allen, because he'd be way better than what Daniel Theis is, and you're gonna need a center unless you want to do small ball. And like all those wings that I named, all four of them are worthy of starting. So whenever the season starts, if they haven't done nothing, it's gonna be weird trying to figure it out. If you want to go with Zion, it's a small ball five. Don't know how much that'll work, but I think the Pelicans just have too much wing depth over there, and somebody has to be traded. For the Lakers, where the young guys shine, they already talked about how him as a coach, he wants to put an emphasis on playing the young guys more, so you will have. Don't know how much Bronny can play without with him. So you got guys like Bronny, Dalton Connect. You just drafted these two. Obviously got Max Christie, Austin Reeves. He's still young. So it's like, how much would these guys be incorporated? Obviously, know Austin Reeves. He'd be an integral part to the team, of course, because he's the third best player behind LeBron and AD on this team. But looking at those other young guys they're surrounded by Dalton Connect, you drafted him 17 overall. How much will he be used? Max Christie, will he get more time to shine? And will the young guys playing more, having an emphasis on them to play, will that help the Lakers be a playoff team? Because from the looks of it right now, I don't think the Lakers are that great of a team. They barely look like a playoff team. That's my question for the Lakers. For the Kings, are they a top five offense again? 2 years ago, led by De'Aaron Fox, they were a top five. They were one of the best offenses in the league. Top five, maybe even top three. That's how the Kings ended up being the 3 seed that year. And over the all season, the West got better. And last year, their record was almost identical to what it was the year before. But since the West got better, it ended up with them being a 9 seed and losing the play in. And the offense wasn't as good as it was. But now that you add a guy like DeMar, who's one of the best mid range shooters, You add another scorer along near Fox, get another all-star to pair with Fox and Sabonis. You got 3 stars on this 3 all-star caliber players. So can they be a top 5 offense again? I think they can be, especially now that you have DeMar and Fox, who are two of the clutchest players in the league. So when it comes down to close game situations, you know you can go to either one of them and it won't be a bad decision. For the Warriors, can Draymond control his temper this year? Wasn't able to control it a few times last year. Ended up getting suspended. If he didn't get suspended and miss games that he did, the Warriors might have a better record last year. And they're probably in the playoffs. They won't even have to go through the play-in. They might be the 6th seed, playing the Timberwolves in the first round. If Draymond was able to control his emotions and his anger, which I don't see how he isn't, especially the veteran that he is, and how long he's been in the league. For the Rockets, do they have too much young talent? This is a very talented roster. They got a lot of talented players. They got a few vets like Jeff Green, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks. But then you got Shingun, Cam Whitmore, Jalen Green. They drafted Reed Shepard. You got Jabari Smith. And those just a few of the guys. It's still that's already 8 players right there. And 5 of those guys being younger guys, then it's obviously other good young talented players with potential on that team. And not everybody will be able to shine and develop. So it's gonna get to a point where they have to start trading some of these guys. Cause like it's not like nobody's really safe in Houston because they all have talent and it's gonna be tough. But they might have too much young talent. Have to get rid of some of them. For the Utah Jazz, it was hard to think of a question. The West is so stacked that this question might be stupid, but can they make the play-in push? They started off decent last year. They didn't fin They finished below the Rockets. They finished at 12. But the team that they have, they got Laurie Marketing, who's an all-star. You still got uh Clarkson. You got Keontae George, Walker Kessler, who I think have a bounce back season. I think last year was just sophomore slump. I think he'll bounce back. Can they make a play-in push? Possibly. I don't think it's super realistic, but Will Hardy is a good coach and I like him. For the Grizzlies, are they a playoff team again? I think they're a play-in team, definitely with job back. Still got Desmond Bain, still got Jaren Jackson, Marcus Smart, and we get to see John and Marcus Smart play a lot more together. That'll be interesting. I think they're definitely a play-in team that can make the playoffs, but I don't think it's a guarantee that they go to the playoffs. Because at the season they had last year with all the injury concerns, that still concerns me. I don't think you can just guarantee a team like this to be healthy all year, especially after the season that they had. And if everything goes well, they can definitely be a playoff team. But to play it safe, I'm gonna say they're a play-in team, maybe like a 7 or 8 seed. But for the Spurs, this one's pretty simple. Uh, is it Wemby's breakout year? Didn't feel like doing too much with this one. We absolutely know if Victor Wembanyama is going to break out, have an amazing season. But is he going to win multiple awards, one award? Is he going to get defensive player? He might win defensive player of the year. Probably being all defensive first team again. Already going to be building a resume to become one of the greatest defenders of all time. Maybe he goes to the playoffs and shines there, or even in play and just has really good play in that game and they lose. And then for the Blazers, what is DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons' future in Portland? Uh, Aiden, I'm really concerned about because the Blazers drafted Donovan Clingan and they already had Aiden as their center. But it made sense, especially with all the stuff about Aiden. From the reports, it seems like he just doesn't care. That's kind of sad to see for a guy that was the first overall pick. You would hope that he cares more. If he doesn't have the ball, he's not effective. And in the NBA, it just can't do that. You gotta be effective even without the ball. So them drafting Cleveland makes sense, but I don't know what his future is because I don't know what teams want to take a chance on Aiden right now. Somebody will because he was the first overall pick, but I don't know how soon that'll be because it looks like he might be the backup now to Cleveland. and Anthony Simons. I really like Simons. Then you got Shane Sharp and Scoop Henderson. And the thing is, people keep saying you got to move Simons, this and that, but it's just not that easy to move players. I do agree that out of those three guards, somebody has to be gone. I'm not sure it should be Simons. I think I like to see him stay in Portland long term. But if he leaves, go somewhere else to shine, so I'll be fine with that because I like Anthony Simons. But it's not, there's really no value for him right now because no team really needs, most teams aren't struggling in the guard position. Like a team like Orlando, who you say, well, maybe they need a point guard. Simons just wouldn't be the guy for Orlando. That's, it wouldn't, it wouldn't do much. They'll still, their floor and ceiling will still be the same if you replace Jalen Suggs with Anthony Simons. It might go down because that's how good of a defender Jalen Suggs is. Like you just can't replace Jalen Suggs defense. So yeah, this will be hard trying to find someone for Anthony Simons to go. And that covers my questions for you. I want a question for every NBA Western Conference team. Last, what was it? Today Saturday. So this past Tuesday, I went to bowling tryouts for my school. Unfortunately, I didn't make it. We played two games, and the coach said he was going to take a higher score. He was going to look at grades. He was going to look at write-up referrals, et cetera, et cetera. And for bowling teams, it's usually two teams, a JV team and a varsity team, six people on each team, three boys, three girls. And my first game, I bowled a 97. I had two strikes. Out of the people that was in my lane, I was second out of six. It was one girl on my lane. She had a one-on-one. Then the second time, the second game also had two strikes, but only had a score of 71 and finished 4 out of 5. Out of the people in my lane because one person had left. But yeah, I thought I did pretty good because the coach said he was second or highest score. And 97 was my highest. Didn't have any write over frills or whatever. Got a 3.4 in GPA. The coach emailed me, told me I didn't make it. I had emailed him back to ask him why. He said it was a few guys that had over 100, and that's why I didn't make it. But I thought, so it seemed like he just looking at the score. It seemed like anything else really mattered because there was a lot of people that tried out. And then he said he's holding tryouts for other people on Wednesday or whatever. But those are all people that didn't bring, said I could try to bring my score up. But he's holding there for people that didn't have their physicals on time. So it don't make sense that people are getting second chances when they obviously did show the responsibility of bringing their physical. So then the people that he probably did till make it, somebody might not make it if one of those guys have higher, one of those people, the other girls have higher scores than the people that he already told made it. But yeah, it was a fun experience. I enjoyed it. Then honestly, I might just try to join the bowling league. Maybe not this year, but when I go up to college next year, I might try to join the bowling league. I can see right now, see how old I gotta be, but it was a fun time. I enjoyed it, even though I didn't make the team. It was still a cool experience. The NFL season kicked off this past Thursday, and the Chiefs and Ravens had a great Thursday night game. I talked about this in my video with I'll lead a I'll lead a video at the end of this one where I talked about the Chiefs and Ravens and how that was a great way to start the season, giving us a great Thursday night game. This last year was only one good Thursday night game, and it was the Cowboys and Seahawks, which is like week 15. But for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson was 26 and 41, 273 yards, 16 carries, 122 yards, with one passing touchdown. Derrick Henry had 13 carries for 46 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely had his best career game with 9 catches, 111 yards and a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, 20 of 28, 291 yards, a touchdown, an interception. Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries, 45 yards, two receptions, 33 yards, one rushing touchdown. Rasheed Rice, he had a good game, no touchdown, but catches for 103 yards. But this was a really great defensive battle between both teams. Like the defense was stepping it up. They essentially took Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce out of it. Like Travis Kelce, he had 3 catches for 34 yards, and he only had like really one big catch, and it was because the Ravens defense they really kept him out of the game. He wasn't making much of an impact. But for the Ravens, the O line, it wasn't looking good. So Mark Andrews had to get in there and play left tackle basically, and that what led to Isaiah Likely having a great game. Even Isaiah Likely had to step in there a few times and play right tackle because, like I said, the offensive line wasn't doing much. They were having a bad game. Then the Ravens play calling, it was pretty questionable in that first game. At the end of it, when Isaiah Likely's foot was almost in, it looked like Harbaugh was confident to go for two. I would have loved to see what the play would have been. I would assume it would have went to Henry if there was a touchdown. It's That was an insane replay. I thought he was in, but his toe just barely hit that line. It was Yeah, Isaiah Likely. He almost had it. And then the Ravens, they had, like I said, with the offensive line, they had a lot of illegal formations. Like the offensive line just struggled with illegal formations. Both the tight ends having to play the left and right tackle because the other guys weren't doing much. Just looked like a struggle. That's why the Chiefs were able to win 27-20. But then Xavier Worthy, he had a really good game. He almost touched the ball 3 times, I think, but he had a jet sweep that went for 21 yards and a touchdown. Then he had a few catches. I think he had a touchdown catch too. But yeah, he had a good game. Shout out to Xavier Worthy. And then in the other game, the Eagles and Packers. Now both of these games were filled with flags. Like the Chiefs and Ravens game filled with a lot of flags. The Eagles Packers game filled with a lot of flags. Too many flags. It was also a few illegal formations in this Eagles Packers game. The Eagles won 34-29 over the Packers. Unfortunately, Jordan Love got hurt towards the end. Report came out today that it was an MCL sprain and he's gonna miss 3 to 6 weeks. So prayers up to him. Hope that he recovers soon, heals fast, get back on the field. Because what Malik Willis did, I feel bad for the Packers that they're gonna have to sit through that for the next few weeks. But Jordan Love was 17-34, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Josh Jacobs had 16 carries for 84 yards, 5.2 average. Jaden Reed had uh, 1 carry for 33 yards, 4 receptions, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jaden Reed had a phenomenal game. He's simply the wide receiver one. He's going to lead the lead. He's going to lead the team. He's going to lead the Packers in receiving yards again, just like he did last year. Jalen Hurts was 20 and 34, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Both of those interceptions he threw were bad. One that were like close to their own end zone and third and long. He throws to Devontae Smith in triple coverage and it ends up being picked off. And the other one he tried, it was also a third and long, but it was in near the Packers end zone. It was a third down. He's looking for AJ Brown. And he throws a terrible pick in the end zone. And I forgot who got that pick. They tried to run it back. Got about 20 yards. Devontae Smith came behind him and tackled him. Barkley in his debut had 24 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 23 yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So he had 3 touchdowns in total. AJ Brown had 5 receptions, 119 yards, and 1 touchdown. Just really great game from both teams, from the Eagles and Packers. They were playing on the soccer field, so obviously not an NFL field, not something that they're used to. So the first quarter, it was really sloppy, but eventually, after the first quarter, it became a really good game. The Eagles got a new center, Cam Jurgens. He's still not adjusted yet. Obviously, Jason Kelsey left. The Eagles still have one of the best offensive lines, but it might take about 3 or 4 weeks for Cam to adjust. Because there was a few miscommunications on snaps with him and Jalen Hurts, which led to the fumble that It was two fumbles. One was the tush push. We tried. That was a fumble at the goal line, which Rocker recovered. The other one, when Hurst had fumbled it, the Packers were able to recover it. The Packers also had a missed field goal, which their kicker makes it. It could be a different outcome because then the Packers would be playing to get the field goal instead of playing for the touchdown towards the end. Hurst definitely made a few bad plays, like I talked about earlier, with the with the interceptions. It was one play. It was a 3rd and 8. They did a design quarterback run and only got 5 yards. That was a really dumb play. Eagles got the win in the end, so it didn't matter. But those definitely still got to point those out. Can't make those mistakes again in the next week. Like I said, Jordan Love got injured, and it was Jalen Carter that made the tackle. He, Jalen Carter got a lot of like hateful messages and DMs on Instagram, which is really stupid because as you can see, it was a football play. It happens all the time. Not like he was trying to intentionally injure him. He was just trying to make the plays so the Packers didn't win the game. That's what all football players do, especially on defense. And defensive players, they have the worst because anything they do is the refs always look at it in a certain type of way. There was a roughing the passer call earlier in the game. It was very questionable because Jordan Love got hit a second after he released the ball. It's hard for the defender to just stop on down. If the defender's already on the ground trying to wrap somebody up, it's not like he was purposely trying to sprain Jordan Love's MCL. Uh, like I said, Malik Willis, after Love went out, Malik Willis was in the game. Man, that brother is terrible. He The first play, it's 5 seconds left. He had throws a pass, and luckily the receiver didn't catch it because that would have been terrible for him. So then the next play, it's 3 seconds left. You need a Hail Mary. You need to at least lateral it or something because you're trying to get the win. He ends up taking a sack, and the Eagles win. So I was cool with it because my Eagles won. But Malik Willis, he didn't look good at all. And they're going to have to play the third string quarterback if that's the case. Uh, the Eagles rookie cornerback Young Mitchell, he didn't look great yesterday. Definitely struggled, but he's a rookie. Obviously, I'm gonna give him time to see what he can do because he was one of the best corners in college football last year. So it's definitely an adjustment period because he's playing with more elite, high-level receivers. Because he got burnt by Jaden Reed a few times, but Jaden Reed gonna be burning people all year. But that's it for my recap of both of those, the Eagles game and the Chiefs game. Next, pros and cons of the WWE PLE format. So ever since Triple H took over, the PLE format has been 5 matches. Most pay-per-views, it's going to be 5 matches on the card. The only time it wasn't 5 matches was WrestleMania, where it was 7 matches each night, and that's the biggest event of WWE yearly at SummerSlam, which is their biggest event of the summer. It also had 7 matches. So Triple H is pretty consistent, having 5 matches on each PLE, unless it's a WrestleMania or SummerSlam. And then when I look at the pros and cons of it, a lot of people complain and they feel like, well, maybe it should be 6 matches or maybe consistently 7. But when you look at the pros and cons of each of it, there's way more pros than there is the cons. See, 5 matches is perfectly fine. The 6, that can be cool. The 7 it seems like you're kind of stretching it. Like 7, that is something you say for WrestleMania, SummerSlam, because those events are more special than some of the other pay-per-views that they might have, like Bash and Berlin or Bad Blood, or et cetera, et cetera. So the number one when it comes, the first pro I had is each match gets quality time. When you have 5 matches on the pay-per-view, the first minute, the first match can go for 23, 24 minutes. Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, I forgot how long that went. Maybe it was 22, 23 minutes or whatever. It was a really good match. They told a great story and it was really fun to watch. Then the matches that follow it, it's just each of these matches getting quality time. They're getting 15, 17-minute matches. It's not like you just have a 5-minute match on pay-per-view. Because in the past, when Vince was running WWE, it was like how AEW is, where they got 8, 9 matches on a pay-per-view. Then some matches they only get uh 7 minutes. But what's the point of you telling that story on your weekly shows for them to just get a 7 minute match on the pay-per-view when they can get a solid 12 to 15? So each match getting quality time. That's definitely the biggest pro. The only con I see with this format is that less wrestlers are on the pay-per-views. Obviously, with more matches, you get more wrestlers. It's like some guys like Uncle Howdy, he still hasn't been on the pay-per-view yet. And I think he will eventually, but he's a guy. But he's been, and that's gonna get to one of my pros in a second. But the con, there's less wrestlers on the pay-per-view. But it's fine because everybody's getting a chance to shine. And that'll lead me into my pro, which is that more compelling stories can end on Raw or SmackDown. With you just having 5 matches, you can end more compelling stories on the Raw or SmackDown because it feels bigger, especially the Raws and SmackDowns for the pay-per-view, because they try to make those the biggest shows. So, so yeah, so like LA Knight, he can have a, well, this leads me to another pro. You get more title matches on Raw and SmackDown as well. LA Knight the night before, he can have a championship match in Germany the night before Bash in Berlin. Because what you're doing is every SmackDown, every time it's a pay-per-view, SmackDown is in that same, every time it's a pay-per-view, the SmackDown before that, it's going to take place in the same city. And those are your biggest crowds, your international crowds, like in Germany, like France or whatever. Even in even in America, like Georgia, when they'd be in Georgia for Bad Blood, they'll probably have a big SmackDown before that. So you were able to have more title matches on TV. You have somebody like Braun Breaker defended against Sami Zayn on Raw to complete a best-of-3 series because it was tied up 1-1 after Sami beat him at the Money in the Bank to retain the title. Then Braun Breaker beat her at SummerSlam to win the title. Then Braun Breaker first title defenses against Sami and a quality 2 out of 3 falls match to end Raw. You're able to have more championship matches that way you don't have to feel like you got to put every title match on the pay-per-view. That you're not able to build, so you're not able to build 8, 9 stories. Like you're building a few, you're building at least 2 or 3 quality stories for each show on Raw and SmackDown. It's not like you're trying to build 4 or 5 for each show because you just can't do that. Especially having them, you can build like small stories, but not all that can blow off at a pay-per-view. So that like next week on SmackDown, they're moving to USA, and Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa are gonna have championship match in a steel cage. Obviously, they're moving to a new network, so they want to have a big show. But still having that on SmackDown instead of wasting it for a pay-per-view spot, that's amazing. You're able to tell these stories on through TV, through the TV shows, having the matches on TV, having title matches on TV, telling compelling stories like with the Y6 and American Made. It's been one of the most prominent stories on Raw. It's been really good. And it's been going on for about 2 months, I'd say, and they haven't been on the pay-per-view yet. They might not even be on Bad Blood. They could be, right? Because it's still about 4 weeks to plan for it. But they've done a really great job in just having good matches with them on Raw, even American Made and Alpha Academy. But they're not going to be on the pay-per-view, but they'll told a compelling story with Gable leaving them to find a new family to to train, to build them up to be something. So that's 3. Yeah, and the last pro is that the PLEs are only 3 hours. They're about 2.5 to 3 hours, and that's really great for timing. It's not super long, but it's not super short either. Obviously, a pay-per-view isn't gonna be super short, but it's not super long where it's like 4 or 5 hours. Like that's one of my biggest gripes with AEW. The pay-per-views are like 4 hours, 4.5 hours sometimes. But if it's 3 hours, that's basically just like a Raw, but all of them just the same length as Raw, but it's less matches because they're all getting less matches, less talking, because all these matches getting all the time to tell a good story. That's one of the best parts about it. Pay-per-views don't have to be long. 3 hours is fine. Sometimes it might be 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, the pros of the PLE format, the 5 match format, is that one, each match gets quality time. That's definitely a plus. And then you have time to do backstage interviews and stuff, and it doesn't feel like it drags on. And you can have post-match assaults or pre-match assaults, and it just builds to the story, and you don't have to rush things. The other second pro, it's only 3 hours, and that's at most. The only time it's longer than 3 hours is WrestleMania, which it'll be 4 hours, because obviously it's the biggest event. So you got to put on your biggest matches and have a bigger card when it's WrestleMania. And the same can be said for AEW All In. If AEW All In is long, that's perfectly tolerable because that's their longest event. That's their biggest event as well. But for the other pay-per-views, they need to cut down on the time. The other pro, more matches, more title matches happen on Raw and SmackDown on a consistent basis. You have championships. Why not defend them every week? It's World Wrestling Entertainment. Have championship matches. Have your champions competing every week. They don't have like one week the tag titles might be defended. Another week the U.S. title might be defended. Next week on SmackDown we're getting a world title match, and you don't get a lot of world title matches on TV. Then the last pro is that more compelling stories can end on the Raw or SmackDown. Not everything has to end on the pay-per-view. And the only con I saw is that it's less pay, it's less, it's less wrestlers on the PLE card, and that's really the only con that I see with the format. And I'm gonna get out of here in a second, but the last segment, as always, athletes of the week. Uh, it's been a busy week. I didn't watch AEW. I seen some of the highlights. Well, the only highlights I saw was Moxley talking and MJF baiting Daniel Garcia. But I did get accepted into Grand Canyon University, so I got some stuff trying to figure out some stuff there. I haven't made an official decision on where I'm going, but I would like to go there. Got some meetings and stuff to do, and yeah. So I haven't. So the only thing I have for athletes of the week is NFL and WWE. I didn't do college football this week because there was still some games. I saw a few games, but I got to catch the highlights on some other ones. And there's some going on right now. I got to check out the Clemson game once I get done with this. That's they're on right now, playing Appalachian State. But for the NFL, I went. It was 2 games this week. I went with Saquon Barkley. He had 24 carries, 109 yards, so a 4.5 average, and 2 rushing touchdowns. And he had 2 receptions for 23 yards, which is 11.5 average. He had 1 touchdown. So I had to go with him. He was the best player in that Eagles Packers game. I feel like he was the best player in both games, including the Ravens and Chiefs. He was just really impactful. Had an amazing game. He His first ever game with the Eagles, he had 3 touchdowns. He played, I forgot how long he played with the Giants, but he pretty sure out of 74 games he played with them, he only had one 3 touchdown game. And his first game with the Eagles, he was able to get 3 touchdowns. So that was huge. Played a huge part in the Eagles winning their opening game of the season. For WWE, I went with Kevin Owens. Uh, SmackDown was SmackDown was good this past week. Kevin Owens, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller uh, they're trying to make Kevin Owens seem like a bad guy, seems like he is gonna turn, which he might, but that's not the conversation we're having right now. And then KO, he's trying to drop a wedge between them. He said, I'm pretty sure this quote is fake. He said, just like Wayne Gretzky said, this is a great night for a triple threat match. Don't think there's any reason for Wayne Gretzky to say that, especially since he's a hockey player. The theory was like, I'm trying to figure out when did Wayne Gretzky ever say that? And that was hilarious. I love that segment. And eventually a triple threat match got set up. They had the triple threat match, Theory and Waller, they got in each other's own way because they both wanted to win. And it ended up with Kevin Owens getting the win. He he was essentially in a 2-on-1. It was a triple threat, but it was basically a 2-on-1, and he won the match. It's a funny segment and a good triple threat match. As every triple threat match was great this week. The two qualifying triple threat matches on Raw, they were really good. But, but yeah, those are my athletes of the week. And that's it for Weekly Sports Talk with Ed. Make sure you leave a like on this episode. Subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts. What are questions you have about NBA teams in the West? How do you feel about the Eagles, Packers, Chiefs, Ravens? And do you have any, would you like to add anything to the pros and cons of what I said about the WWE PLE format? Peace.